My name is Button and yours is Boo. 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 Hey, Winter Bear. Hi, Isabel. How are you? I was just getting all my Santas ready here. So, Isabel, did you put your story into our group sheet? It looks like it. No. I haven't gotten it yet, but what let me know in the chat if you actually have the. No, I don't have it there actually. Okay. I mean, I think this should be ideal for everybody since you all love chatting anyway more than talking, and you don't like to have the camera facing you. So I think this should be an ideal situation. Anyway, we're trying something new out. Okay. And you would know if you're in the right document. It's Scholastic streaming workshops. Let me know if you have any trouble with that. Okay. Just also gonna see. Just wondering, is Dr. Shu here too? I just was sending a little message to see. Okay. Hi, Hannah. So does everybody know what the document is that you're supposed to send it to, so I can look and so we can discuss your titles or anything else that you might have? Let me know in the chat. If not, I can go ahead and look in my email and see what you all have sent there, and I can go ahead and send you the document. Okay. So, okay, so I'm gonna send to Isabel and Hannah. I'm gonna send you the document to which you should paste everything, and we can discuss it. Okay, so you'll get that right now in your mail. Okay. I'm not 100% sure if I can put that here, but I'll try. See if that works. I wasn't sure if you could. Hi, William. If you were able to do that in the chat. Um, but let me know if do you see a link from me there? If so, that's it. So somebody could just let me know if you this sort of feels like when we do the Zoom and nobody turns their camera on, so it doesn't feel too unfamiliar to be honest. Um, so if somebody could just let me know if that link went through, that would be great. Dr. Shu, are you there? Okay. Do you see a link from me? Okay, fantastic. Okay. Okay, wonderful. So here we are. We've entered the 21st century. Um, so the purpose, just so everybody knows, so the purpose of this is really was just to get a captive audience so I could show you my Santa Clauses. Um, no, actually, it was I wanted to provide a forum. Okay, great. It was to provide a forum that we could go over a number of different copyediting things. A lot of people have emailed me, and I've tried to provide as much. Okay, good. Glad the link works. Tried to provide as much extra time for everybody for copy editing as possible. So that means, like going over titles, keywords, any other issues that might come up. And we had those, the short 15-minute sessions. But I realized that there'd be other things that would be left over. So that was the purpose of this. We also, at Casey, wanted to try a different venue as a way of opening up some of these editing issues to the larger community. But these are primarily for all of you. But we did want to embrace other people and make it possible for other people to learn about these editing issues who might be submitting to Scholastic also in the next few days. Okay, so the idea, first of all, we've talked a lot about titles. I did a little live stream yesterday and talked about titles for lots of different types of submissions, from poems to short story, critical essay, personal essay. And although a good title is a good title, it would be foolish to say that you use a good that it's the same thing for a poem as it would is for a critical essay, because it's not. So we will definitely discuss what makes a good title, what issues of keywords might be important if that's something that you wanted to look at, um, and any other editing issues. We won't be sharing the screen, so not everybody will. The broader public won't see your writing. Don't worry, they won't be able to steal your ideas, but they will hear the conversation. So that sort of it allows some privacy and integrity for protecting the integrity of your work from the vicious public, but also to make the conversation available to others. So, who would like to go first? You can just let me know in the comments there. Okay, and you're welcome. I know some of you love to write comments in the chat, so I should be seeing lots of comments here because I know I have to leave at 6:30 today, so I don't have too much time. Okay. Well, we're not going to be here all day like we usually are, so we'll try to do this as quickly as possible. Winter Bear. Okay. I forget who Winter Bear is. Is that Isabel? Yeah. Okay. Okay, Isabel. So tell me what issues you want to work on, and anybody else, if you could just type into the comment section and just let me know what in particular you want to work on. Isabel's got a really long piece with lots of interesting things. First of all, let me ask you, Isabel, did you get it down to I think you had said in an email that you had gotten it down to within a few hundred words of the word count. Um, yeah, you can go after Isabel, but just the peach cobbler, yes. So if you could tell me what issues you wanted to work on, Isabel, or Winter Bear, if you want me to call you that. Okay, so it's 50 words over, but is it just a word count issue? Are we dealing with titles too? So please, don't be shy in the comments and just please let me know. Okay, mostly just the word count and if possible, the conclusion. Okay, and Hannah, if you could also let me know, Ambrose. I see Ambrose Ocean of Joy is here. So maybe let me know what your Ocean of Joy issues are. Okay, he wants some titles. All right, we'll work on your titles. Very good. And Heidi. Oh, why Heidi? Which Heidi is this? Which Heidi Pan? Is this the prose or the poetry one? The one from Thursday. I think that means prose. Eyebrows, right? Okay. Right. So Heidi, I don't know if you heard, but we do have a document that you can submit your um, stories to. We'll work on it when we're done with this session. The document will be destroyed, so make sure that you take everything out of it. And the reason is just so that nobody can get in there again afterwards. All right. So do make sure that you take everything with you off of the document right away. Okay. What does the queue look like? The queue looks like, let's see, Isabel, Hannah, Ambrose, and you. Okay. All right. Very good. So I'm going to start then by looking at Isabel. Okay. And any questions that you have, please go ahead and you can ask questions in the comments. All right. As you all remember, we wrote some of the personal essays. We started the term looking at different unusual structures, right? And so, and as a result, we did see some, let's say, creative ways of structuring your essays, including around let's see, we had people do it in terms of we did have a few people that did the recipe, but they did them all differently. So recipe for some sort of dish, and then little parts around ingredients or cooking or baking instructions. Um, we did have also people that arranged it uh, a chronological a what would you say, a chronologically, or dischronologically. I don't know what the opposite of non-chronologically is. But there were people that did that too, that ordered it around in a non-chronological fashion, or in lots of other creative ways. And oh, okay, that totally makes sense anachronistically. Um, that is, thank you, William, for providing that. Does anybody else, while I'm working on this, if anybody else could say, did you use an unusual structure for your personal essay, and did you feel like it was a successful thing to do, or do you regret it? Do you wish you had just written it straight through? So I'd like to know if you could just tell me in the comment section if you felt like you were happy with the kind of writing that you got from writing anachronistically. I'm sorry, not anachronistically, but in case you did write anachronistically or in some other way that was not not traditional. Okay. And make sure you like us here. We're so give us a thumbs up, or as they say, smash the like button. It won't kill you. Thank you, Heidi. It doesn't cost anything, but it's kind of surprising. When you watch those YouTube channels and you go, "Why do they keep saying to smash a like button?" And then I kind of I have a few friends that do it, and they're always like, "It's just unbelievable. Like people just do not do it." In my case, I always forget to do it, but I, it is weird. It doesn't. I'm actually somebody who sends those tips. Like you can send money. It's like a featured chat or send a tip. It says, and I'll like if I'm feeling generous. I'm not asking you to do that, but I'm just saying like I'll do that, and then I'll forget to like them because I'm like, well, I just sent a $5 tip, and so but you forget to send the like button. One little thing too that I wanted to remind people, so going through Isabel's, and it's making me think of it is make sure that your formatting is all in one style. So some people will use like MLA part of the time, and then some of the time they'll use another style. So like if you're putting periods and commas inside quotation marks, which is modern language associations method, make sure you do it throughout and not just sometimes. So I just says that can anybody just I mean if you wouldn't mind leaving in the comment section and just let me know um, how satisfied you feel with your essay now in terms of the using it turning out as well as you'd hoped by using a different structure than you had perhaps used in the past. I'm just curious to see for people who did it if it felt like it helped to pry loose ideas that you might not have had otherwise. Okay, I think I've shaved I think you said 50 words. It wasn't much. So at least that, and gone through this. Excuse me. You've obviously gone through this a number of times because I'm not really 9.5 out of 10, 12 days. Okay. Yeah, I know it doesn't have the usual typos that I find inevitably in people's work, including my own. We were doing Dr. Shu and I were working on something in the last few days, and I think every time I went over it, I kept finding more and more stuff. I must have gone over it 6 or 7 times. So it's not just student stuff. Um, but anyway, it looks very good. There's very little that I'm not finding any typos or issues. What I would say is I shaved it there. I shaved some words here and there, but not hard to find sort of redundant expressions or unnecessary things. Like one place where you said, "I said and you put dragging out the Well, it's obvious that you dragged out the because you just wrote it that way. And there's things like that that you'll find that are redundant, but otherwise it looks really good. I'm looking at the conclusion. I don't know if those last two lines are meant to be part of the conclusion, but if they are, I'd get rid of them and just end with Napoleon catching it perfectly. I think that's a good ending. So I think that the conclusion works now, but not those last two lines if they were meant to be there. Okay, I'll look. Do you want me to look at the 12 Days of Christmas? Is that a yes? Okay, I'm not sure if the okay means yes or if that was related to the two lines at the end that I said I think you should delete. Okay. Is that also over the word limit or is that okay? Okay. Okay. By the way, I know that since we are privy to this document, if all of you see anything, I mean, I don't want like. Here's the thing: is with at this level with copy editing and whatnot, it's definitely not the time for people to be like, you know, sort of wanting to rearrange things. This is really more at the level of are there typos uh, in this? So if anybody happens to see one that I didn't catch, please do note it for anybody. Maybe you all are just sitting there watching television or something. But if you happen to be reading this and you do catch something, that's not just like a little. Uh, it's not an issue of taste or preference. Like I don't like this word, or you should develop this. Nobody has time for that. If you just see typos, so please do point them out. Okay. Does anybody know what where the 12 days of Christmas comes from? Isabel, do you know? Did you look that up? The what first of all, where what are the 12 days of Christmas? When do they start and end? Is it Christmas Eve to Epiphany? Yeah, well, it's the song. The song is named after the 12 Days of Christmas. The song did not invent the 12 Days of Christmas. So since we are in Advent, which is the Christmas season, does anybody know what the 12 Days of Christmas are? There's also a holiday in England called Twelfth Night. Look it up, and or you just take a guess before what they might be, when they might start. So you'll be aware this year. Any guesses on the 12 days of Christmas? It's from Christmas Day to what's called the Three Kings Day. It's not really, they weren't three kings, they were three wise men, but so it goes from Christmas Day to Epiphany. So Isabel, see, Epiphany is not just the name of your essay from last year. It's also the holiday of the three wise men who brought gifts. Is that from the Bible? So it's not from the Bible. It's tradition. Um, the 12. So it doesn't actually uh, come from the Bible, and the Bible doesn't mention the 25th of December. So that's just our tradition. But the 12 days of Christmas also is non-biblical. It just came as part of the tradition when people started to celebrate Christmas on the 25th, and then they put the Three Kings Day on the 6th of January. There's also, if you are interested in that, there's also a holiday in England called Twelfth Night, which is a pretty wild holiday. It doesn't really exist anymore, but it was celebrated for centuries. The Twelfth Night. If this comes up for anybody else, if you have an italicized section and you want to emphasize a word in the italicized section, then you would just de-italicize it and make it a normal script so that um, it's as if it were italicized. In other words, like, and that's a normal conventional thing to do. So you have a whole italicized section, and you have one word that you want to emphasize. So you just de-italicize it rather than underlining or bolding it or doing something else. And you should be able to, when you cut and paste into the Scholastic website, keep a lot of formatting like italicization, but it may become undone. You might have to do it over. Although what I found is that in past years that has been the case, but in this year, really everything seems a lot of the formatting seems to have been conserved, except for things like the paragraph indentations. But things like to the script and even special characters, we've seen them kept in some of the tests that we've done. Okay, I'll finish that up real quick, and you can look at it. Have a good day. So we're done with Isabel. She had some really long pieces. Okay, and who did I say was next? I think it was Heidi, right? Or was it Hannah? Do let me know. I'll just look. I think it was Hannah. Was yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. All right, let's take a look. So Hannah, what in particular is it? Just copy editing, or was there an issue with the title, or keywords, or what? If you could write to me and let me know what it was that you wanted me to look at. Is that it then? Just the title? Okay, I'll look at the ending too. All right, let's see. What page are we on here? Isabel's so long. We have to get through all of that. If y'all are bored and want something fun to do, Isabel's essay was, I mean, her little story is really interesting. It's really funny, but the essay is pretty amazing, to be honest. I would be surprised if this didn't get a pretty high level award. And I can say that because she's not here. I don't want to get her hopes up, but I would imagine there's some really good stuff in there. Okay. Heidi, since I just was going through, I think you could still do better than that title. I mean, I like the spirit of it, absolutely ridiculous. I like the spirit of that, but the whole eyebrow topic is definitely an unusual one and an interesting one, and one that I think that should be mentioned in some way in the title, even if it's not like eyebrow itself, but like you had a lot of different euphemisms for it. And so in a title, I mean, if you think about it, it sort of serves the function of a keyword in terms of, they ask for keywords so that people can find, like, say they were doing a search for essays on a certain topic, idea, genre, subgenre, etc. They could find your essay. Um, and nobody would find it with absolutely ridiculous, but you so that's part of it, and then the other part is that the title can enhance or emphasize something that's in there that might not be so apparent to readers, like, so something about your essay that you may not have kept drumming, but you might want to emphasize in the title. That's a good place to do it in a personal essay like this. So I would definitely think about it as doing two things. One is that it helps people find your essay, so it should have some sort of sense of the topic, your subtopic, your thesis. There is no thesis per se in the personal essay like you would have in a critical essay, but there's definitely the essay is about um, grooming and sort of self-image and self-image over time through maturation, through teenage years, through adolescence, and so that it and it is. I don't really know that any of that was captured in that title. So perhaps we could go on some of these other ones. So we've got War on Self, the absolutely ridiculous war, and Smudge Mirrors. Um, War on Self is kind of interesting. I mean, it is a bit sort of heavy-handed. So I mean, I definitely think it's very serious, but it's also pretty accurate, I think. What's your question about formatting, Annabelle? Yeah. Okay. So, had you were asking me if you should submit it in humor? I think that okay. So that's a good question. It's something that some people are going to be having to have that discussion with themselves. Is what subcategory do I submit it in? I took a personal essay class, but it's got comic elements in it, or maybe it has fantasy elements in it, or whatever it might be. That's not like a strict personal that might suggest that it would be in one of the other subgenre categories, especially comedy. They are. It seems pretty clear that if it has comic aspects of it, if it relies on a number, let's say a fair number of humorous passages in it, that you should file it under humor. So the question is, right? How much humor is there? I would say, I mean, I think with yours, it's definitely a toss up to know, you, given how they seem to be quite um, I don't know what to say is that they really seem to want people to submit to that humor section if there are elements of humor in your short story or essay, or whatever it is, dramatic monologue. I would probably go with humor. I would say that there's enough of it that they would consider it a humor piece, and they seem to really want to push people to submit in that if there's any elements of humor. I think if you made one sort of funny pun or just two or three in your whole essay, then you would do well to say it's probably not going to go in that category. But I think enough of it and the subject matter itself, which is all about this war on your eyebrows, would be enough to put it right in the humor category, because the subject itself, this topic of the essay is a funny one. So I would probably put it in the humor. Sorry, Hannah, I just saw your comment that it was on page 29 because I couldn't find it based on your name. So there it is. Okay. Okay, Annabelle, just make sure you can. I don't know if you've cut and paste your essay yet, but please go ahead. I just provided a link again, and I'll look at the different formatting and see if I think it's right. Uh, okay, so Hannah, I'm just going to look and Kane's Crown title. Is that the only option that you have, or do you have any other possibilities? If you happen to have any other possibilities, be helpful to list them. Cain's Crown is it's okay. I wouldn't say it's awfully imaginative, and I don't know that Hunger and Hate, Bloody Crown. Yeah, Bloody Crown. I feel like sounds a little cliched. Hunger and Hate. Hunger and Hate. It's okay. Um, I feel like I feel like it's something a little bit of a combination of those, like Cain's Hunger, because Cain, it's we talked about this before, but the name Cain already has a tremendous um, elusiveness to the biblical Cain. I mean, everybody knows who Cain is, and even people who don't know who Cain is sort of have an inkling from its use in popular culture and literary history and whatnot. So, would it be better than what I have now? I think Cain's Hunger sounds really good because it combines the name and also the idea of hunger, um, and then sort of I don't know. I like that one. Um, let me think. Or maybe or something. Maybe something that's syntactically a little different. Something syntactically more interesting. Like we have Cain's hunger and hatred, or the hunger and loathing of Cain. Something like that, or even the hunger and hatred of Cain, which is the syntax of it is a little more interesting than if you use the possessive when you have it of Cain. So those are some possibilities that you can think about. I just feel like Cain's crown sounds a little plain. I'm looking at the ending. I think the ending with the Leviathan is really interesting. There's a Leviathan that comes up at the end of the Book of Job as a way of really showing the smallness of human ambition and human care within the in the bigger scheme of the universe. And it's I think it so it makes an interesting reference to that to the end of the Book of Job, and it's also a short story by Tobias Wolff, which ends with it's called Leviathan, and it ends with the Leviathan as well. It's really interesting. So no, Amber, it's not too late. So I think, yeah, in short, I do think the ending is good, and it has since you have this Cain character, which is biblical, it has another biblical connotation that I think is good. So Hannah, yeah, I think work on the title a little bit, consider some of those, and I think the ending that you came up was really good. Okay, we'll go ahead then, and so, Ambrose, are you still here? Okay, Hannah, good luck with everything. Again, everybody, when you're submitting, don't forget that we do have a video and a PDF on the KEC website that, yes, the sectioning is good. But we do have a video and a PDF to help you with your submission when you get to that section, when you get to that stage, you have some questions about it. So please feel free to, not feel free, I urge you to go ahead and look at that when you get to the submission process. If you have any questions that come up, you can always fast forward through different parts of the video. Okay, yeah, no, the sections are good. Definitely an improvement over last time. Okay, all right. So if Ambrose is here, I can look at you, Ambrose. What was the message you retracted, Amber? Well, okay, it doesn't look like Ambrose is here. So, Annabelle, we can do you. And Amber, oh, yeah, it's okay. Don't worry about typos. I don't know if you have the group document. Oh, Ambrose is here. Okay, Amber, I don't know if you have the group document, but I'll put it here. You can. No, I didn't ask you, Ambrose, if you retracted a message. That was Amber. Okay, let's get to your. So we'll go over your titles. So we've got, I'm a little confused here. You have this bit here, Chinese and Japanese scholars have argued over, and then you have this yellow section. Oh, it looks like you stuck the titles right in the middle of your first paragraph. Let me just move that. Okay. So we've got the effects of the unacknowledgement. Unacknowledgement is a pretty cumbersome word. I don't know that it even is a word. But so when you have kind of a weirdly constructed word like that, you might want to think about coming up with something that sounds a little bit more elegant and common. In other words, not a neologism. That is not a made-up word, but something conventional. So the unacknowledgement, what would be another word for that that's more common? Denial. There you go. Denial, erasure. There's a lot of different possibilities, but that are a little bit more. But denial, I think, is a good one. Saw Will here earlier. I don't know if Will, if you put your essay or not in here somewhere. Yes. Okay. Okay. And Will, if you could just tell me what in particular you want to work on, and just while I go through these titles, go ahead and tell me what you would like to work on. Okay, so we've got the effects of denial. Let's just say of denying. Yeah. So why the rape of Nanking still has negative impacts today, and how we can prevent these impacts. That again, that also doesn't sound terribly elegant. You don't want to repeat the same word twice in the title. And remember, you want to convey, you know, probably coming up with an essay for a critical, coming up with a title for a critical essay is the easiest thing that you can do compared to a personal essay or short story or poem in a way, in the sense that you know what your thesis is and your subject area, and you just need to convey that, as opposed to coming up with something really beautiful or creative, poetic, etc. You don't have to do that. It can be as unpoetic as you need it to be, just to convey that thesis, to convey the argument. So I think, okay, I saw what you said. What you want, Will, the title, wording. So I think with this, you were talking about. I think there's two main things. One is the controversy over the extent of this historical event. Like, how serious was it? From nothing really happened. Some, the one historian that you cite basically said nothing really happened. That was out of the ordinary. And then another historian saying that there was a tremendous massacre and a rape of, I don't know how many tens of thousands of people, something very grave. So there's that controversy over what actually happened. But then the second part, that's the descriptive part of your essay. And then by descriptive, it means you're just trying to put together the information, the two different sides of the argument. You're not really arguing anything yourself. So when it's just you're not arguing something, you're just describing these two different sides. But then you get more into what we'd say the thesis driven part of it, the argument, when you compare it to other historical events, namely what happened in South Africa with the peace and reconciliation, and then the Nuremberg trials in Germany, and the kind of reconciliation that was attempted to be done there in terms of just acknowledging what had happened. So I think that you make an analogy there, you make a comparison as a way of showing how this is not simply an issue of historical quibbling, but like this could be really helpful to the relationship of Japan and China to be able to acknowledge this and then move beyond it. But as long as there is one side believes one thing and another, it just becomes part of a bad diplomatic relationship and a bad political relationship. So those are I'm just repeating for you so you can hear it back, because often we need that. We need somebody to repeat our argument back to us, so that we can then come up with a good title. So what I'm seeing right now, the effects of denying the rape of Nanking and how we can fix it. I think the first part of that, the effects of denying that's part of it, but I think it's a bit bigger what you're talking about in your essay. So why the rape of Nanking still has negative impacts today and how we can prevent these impacts. I'm not sure that that also captures what I've just relayed back to you. How we can overcome the dispute over the rape of Nanking, the rape of Nanking analysis of the effects and possible solutions. So I think that maybe that last one, the rape of Nanking and analysis of the effects and possible solutions, is the one that comes closest to, I think, being a good title. So my suggestion for this would be something to the effect of um, so on the one hand, you talk about the different versions of this historical event, and then two, why it would be important for both countries to come to some sort of consensus about what happened in order to um, heal political and diplomatic relations. So see if you can, Ambrose, come up with something that really conveys that essence of what your thesis is. And I'll see if I can put something too here. Well, I mean, I'm just having it's a possibility here would be something like using a colon, which you often see with academic titles, so titles of critical essays. That can be a good way of having like a major idea and then a more specific subtitle. So you have the major idea would be from denial to reconciliation, and then you go into the specifics after the colon, a historical survey, a historical overview or survey, whatever, of the Nanking controversy, and a map for reconciliation. Um, and you can even be more specific there, like uh, in the Nuremberg trials or whatever. I forget what the whole reconciliation part of that was, but something like that, where you've got this kind of overview. You don't want it to be 3 lines long, but I think this, which is a line and a half, really covers it. Which is, you're suggesting something to go from denial to reconciliation. You've provided a historical overview of the Nanking controversy, and in your thesis, you've argued how reconciliation might be possible. And if somebody's doing a search for your essay, I forget if you talked about South Africa in any detail, or if it was just that. From my memory, it was just kind of an allusion to it. But you also, so I mean, I think that might be good. there's a lot that you covered in there. Um, but like, because I'm thinking about all the experiments that had to do with um, the the violence that certain situations, like the people that were locked up in jail. I guess that was in the Stanford experiment, or the people that were supposed to be jailmates, and then the wardens, and the violence that because certain situations will bring out violence in you. But I think that that's just a way of proving a little bit about what the situation brought out in people. I think the key thing was really what's covered there. So if that seems acceptable to you, that's a possibility. Or you could base a title based on this. So with some inspiration from this, that's up to you. Let's see what else. I remove the South. Okay, okay, fine, good. So then we don't have to worry about the South Africa part. So I think basically, and I think that's a good suggestion. I mean, that was a good move on your part because it was a little superficial what you had there. So if you're not gonna go deep into it, may as well just take it out and then focus like you decided to do on the Nuremberg trials part. Okay. So a historical overview of the Nanking controversy and a map for reconciliation in the Nuremberg trials. I think that pretty much covers your thesis. Let's see, what else did you want to cover here? Ambrose, is there anything else besides the title there? Okay, great. All right. Well, anyway, this essay came a long way from what it was. So congratulations on that. Okay. So I'm gonna do Will next then. Will, let me look at yours. Title and the wording. Okay. And then finally, lastly, will be Annabelle as the last person here. Hi, Ambrose. I'm just gonna quickly just turn this light on here. Okay, who wants to guess where who those guys are behind me? The little statues which I bought recently. Oh, Heidi, I'm sorry. Heidi, Will was here before you, and all he just needs help with is his um, title, and his piece is quite short. So let me just go through that, and then it's not really Santa. It's not Santa. It's a and so has anybody ever seen the movie Frozen? Has anybody seen the movie Frozen? It's a precursor, sort of. It's a Russian. Okay, so it's a Russian version of Santa, and goes back to the pre-Christian Slavic legends of this guy. Yeah, Elsa. So I'm just gonna tell you a little bit about Elsa real quick. But so you can see, I mean, he sort of looks like Santa, but not completely. Um, no, it's not Hans Christian Andersen. So so basically it's Russian. Hans Christian Andersen is Danish, but so it's Russian, and his name is Dead Moraz, and he existed as a kind of mean guy who used to kidnap children, and it was also Father Frost, so he was responsible for bringing. He has a very strong magnesia, so he could turn water into ice, lock it together, and he would abduct children and then demand that the parents give him gifts in order to return the children. And so, as the during the 19th century, this sort of snow maiden was introduced. Her name was Snegoruchka, the snow maiden. And if you look her up, Snegurochka, which is my um, attempt to pronounce the Russian, she really looks like Elsa. So I think that they must have taken that Elsa idea from this snow maiden. Same blue and everything, but she always accompanies this dead Moroz. So it's this Santa-like figure, dead Moroz, and then this Snegurochka that was introduced in the 19th century. But it was during the Soviet period that they made him into more of a Santa Claus, and they eliminated Christmas because they didn't want any reference to any Christian holiday, and then they had him come on New Year's to give gifts to the children. So instead of abducting children, he would give gifts. So it's really interesting to see the evolution of a tradition, and something that was kind of a nefarious character becomes this kind of Santa Claus like character. Yeah, it's really fascinating. It's also really kind of way more beautiful than any Santa. I mean, this is just kind of amazing. So I thought people would like to see that. Okay, so let's go to Heidi here. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna Heidi. I'm just gonna look at Will's real quick because his is quite short. I'll look at the title and then I'll get to yours. Okay, and then finally Annabelle. I think the title's good. My treasure is a bare-eared fuzzy jacket, and it's just it sounds very innocent. Um, the wording, the syntax doesn't sound terribly elegant, but then again, it's meant. This is a kind of sort of what can I say a story of a child's not a child but a young person's attachment. So I don't think it needs to be a very sophisticated type of title, but I think we could probably work on the syntax a little bit so it sounds a little less like a sentence and a bit more like a title. If you think about title, it sounds a bit like a sentence. Yeah, sure, Annabelle. I can do that. Uh, let's see what we can do with that. Even if you just changed it to a bare-eared fuzzy jacket, dot 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 treasure. That I think is a little more charming than it doesn't sound like a sentence. You could leave the dot 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 out, obviously, but I think it adds a little bit of a charm. And I'll look through this quickly for copy editing. We could. Sorry, I was just thinking about the title again. We could also just leave out the jacket and put a bare-eared fuzzy treasure. Yes, Heidi, definitely can go tomorrow. Um, then more of you showed up than I was expecting. So we're doing another one of these sessions tomorrow as well. We're only gonna be able to go for another 15 minutes, and then I have another commitment, but we'll definitely continue tomorrow. But do you? So what was it you're saying, Will? Do you like that, or I wouldn't do jacket dot 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 a treasure. I think that's kind of dull. Yeah. Okay. I liked it. Just a beer-eared fuzzy treasure. Sorry, bare-eared. Okay, I'm gonna do my speedy proofreading. Uh-oh. Sorry if there's some barking. The mail lady's coming and the dogs are getting excited. Unlike sorry about that. Unlike when we do Zoom, I'm not able to mute this. Hi, little one. Okay. I think okay, so well, I actually did catch a few things proofreading wise that I hadn't seen before. I don't know if that stuff was added in or I just didn't catch it before, but there were a few things I added there. Okay, that should be changed. Issues with verb tenses, so just check those out. Otherwise, I think it looks good, and I think the title is good. Okay. Thank you for being so patient to those of you who have been here an hour and 22 minutes and are still waiting. Did anybody get a chance to look at Snegurochka in the meantime? So, Heidi, what did you think of her? It's real. It's a trip, right? It's not something you normally associate with Christmas. It's supposed to be her. It is very Elsa-like, right? And it precedes Elsa. It's the same blue dress, the blonde hair, all of that. So let's go ahead then, Heidi. I'll look at your piece, and then Amber. Since I see your them right here. I see your potential titles. Just wanted to comment on them since I see them right here. Um, I don't know where the thing with feathers comes from because I don't remember anything like that in your story, unless my memory is failing me. I don't remember what year this is supposed to be in, but what I would think you have Pandora's box, which I think is a little boring, just because is probably if you did a search, would be a ton of things called Pandora's box that has been, a mythological idea that you see used over and over. So I think just to call your story Pandora's box, I think it's a bit dull. But I think one way that you can make it, oh, the feathers reference to hope. Okay, but that doesn't, the image doesn't actually appear in the story at all, right? Because it's one of the things is that you can introduce something that never appears in the story. Like I think of the workshop that I did yesterday. I talked a little bit about Flannery O'Connor's "Everything That Rises Must Converge," um, which okay. So everything that rises must converge doesn't appear. The reference doesn't appear in the story itself. There's no reference to that I ever. But the title is then given to this story about a boy. I mean, yes, sorry, a young man on a bus with his mother, and she has a stroke. That's basically in the barest of terms what happens, but it's all about his guilt and recrimination and all of that. And so everything that rises must converge, I think, really adds something to it that's not really in the story and it's not referenced. But in general, I think the tradition, and I think for a reason it's a tradition, is to draw on stuff that comes out of the story that's emblematic, as opposed to just throwing something that doesn't appear at all. Um, so I think the Pandora's box. I think one cool title would be Pandora's box, and then add the year. I forget what year this was supposed to be. If you ever mentioned it, but like say Pandora's box 2650. Where you added a year at the end of it. I think that would be sort of an interesting thing that you could do with this. Out of the box, also really conventional. Escape, so abstract. Could be about anything. A way out. Um, yeah, again, No Way Out was a famous title. Um, and there's different versions of that way, sort of No Way Out or Way Out, that have appeared in in literature and in film. I mentioned that the Twilight Zone episode that was really famous. so the 6 characters in search of a way out or something like that. But anyway, point is that it's sort of a little bit tired. 2603. I really like the idea of Pandora's box 2603 because it's suggestive of this futuristic thing. It's very specific to your story and what's going on, but then you're also bringing in this mythological element. So I think that would be a cool way of using that idea, but making it more particular. Okay. So Heidi, I'm looking at yours there. Oh, wow, that's really a good one. I like that. The absolutely ridiculous war on I would make it on instead of self, war on self, which I think is feels very academic. I would just make it more colloquial and more everyday rather than this sort of academic, high-minded the war on self, which sounds like it could be the beginning of a academic exploration of the annihilation of the self in the Corona era. People doing all these sort of self-sabotaging things. It could be titled "The War on Self." That'd be really interesting academic thing. But for this, I think the absolutely ridiculous war on myself would be. I think because it's a humor piece. It's very personal. So to take it out of that more academic philosophical realm. Okay, Amber. So I really like that. I think that's a great title now. Or you could even make it the absolutely ridiculous war on me. But I think on myself. I think that's really good. I'm just sort of conjoining some of those because it was still a bunch of like one lines that were, just conjoin some of those into full paragraphs because you tend to do that where you have one line and then you move on. One maybe you want to write screenplays. Maybe that's what you're telling yourself unconsciously. You want to be writing screenplays or plays instead of personal essays. So instead of rejected, I put repressed. If you've heard, there's a famous concept from Freud, the return of the repressed. So I think you could kind of reference that rather than rejected. Re-emerged. You have to put it like that. Oops, sorry, that A should be after the colon. I don't know how it got there. No, sorry, that was a mistake. Just put the back. Oops. I didn't mean to delete that. I don't know what's going on there, but yeah, the run on what you were calling the run on. So a long sentence is not a run on. A long sentence is a long sentence. A run on is when it's a grammatically incorrect long sentence. Okay, so it's because in an instance, a real enemy, singular, a compulsory need to fix, to make better, to mask. That's all a clause that describes enemy, which is a singular noun. Okay, so the verb should be was exposed for what it really was. So the verb there should be singular because the subject is singular, enemy. So it's got all that compulsory need to fix, make better, to mask. That's all a subordinate clause that describes what enemy is. So that doesn't make it plural because you have all this other stuff. Just wanted to explain that. And then we'll have a colon because we're saying what it really was. And what is that? Colon. Colon introduces that something, a word, a recipe, a list of words is going to follow what you're saying, not a dash. Absolutely ridiculous. No, the ending is well, there was no ending before, but this ending I think is good. So, Heidi, I don't know if I managed to hit every single one of the orphan verse like type of paragraphs that you have where it's just like one line. So I'd recommend if you see any more that need to combine that you do that because it, setting aside one sentence or two sentences as a paragraph can be effective, but it needs to be done sparingly. If you're writing your entire essay like a list, it gets a bit aggravating to the reader. If you are setting aside one sentence to make an emphasis, like that works well if you do it sparingly. Just don't overuse it. Okay, so that's what I would say there. Um, I think like I don't know who else is left here. I see there's three people still here. I need to end. I think I hit. We covered pretty much everybody except Annabelle. Uh, is that your sister, Will? Who's your sister? I didn't even know you had a sister here. Where is it? Oh, Sarah. Okay. I didn't realize that was your sister. That's crazy. I mean, now I realize you have the same last name, but a lot of people have the same last name. Yes, I'll be happy to do that. I'm not going to do it right now because I have to get to something. But if you put it at the bottom, anybody who you put it at the bottom, I'll look at that. As far as longer things, if anybody has anything longer, we're going to be doing another final one of these tomorrow. So same time, Sunday, 3 o'clock Pacific time. I think, well, you're on the West Coast, like I am. So I'm pretty sure because think Sarah. I know Sarah is on the West Coast, so I guess you are too. So it's 3 o'clock our time, and then 6 o'clock Eastern time. I'll be having one more session. But if she has something short, I'm happy to look at it a little later, and it'll be where to look. Anybody else who's still here who wants me to look at anything, please let me know. Yeah, bring it tomorrow though, Heidi. So same time. I don't know. I also don't know what 3 o'clock Pacific time, 6 o'clock Eastern time. Yeah, I'd be happy to. Okay. So anybody else who I didn't cover, please come tomorrow. I'm sorry that we weren't able to get to everything, but this ended up being a bit longer than I had anticipated. But I hope it was helpful to you. Um, I do have one little final thing that I wanted to show you all before you go. I just got a whole bunch of marionettes, but this one is pretty astounding. I've never seen anything like this. Thought Heidi, you'd get a kick out of this. So Um, this is from the Czech Republic, but I have a whole Christmas market thing that I'm doing next Saturday. But it's all this stuff. This is from the Czech Republic. That's from Russia. So they're very cool. Look at this guy. Yeah. Well, they're good for creativity too. You can make them into little characters and have them do things. But anyway, we're selling them at this Christmas market, and I imported all these little guys. I've got 20 of these different characters, and we're selling them for charities. So all the money that we make is going to different charity. I bought all this stuff, my own money, but every cent that we use that we sell, we're donating it. But all sorts of different things, like these little guys, these little houses too. Anyway, just a little aside. So we'll see the rest of you then. Yeah, we'll see. So we'll see that you all tomorrow. Okay. Have a good rest of your evening. Bye bye.